News!
Okay, we'll start with this. It appears that Poland's own unbeaten up-and-comer, Laura Grzyb, has taken to her social media, once again, to call out not only the World Boxing Council, but the World Boxing Council's reigning super bantamweight champion, Inoue Mercado, who was in action not that long ago opposite the ring matchroom zone, Ramla Ali. It appears that Laura wants what she's got, saying, "Give me my belt."
The problem.
Laura doesn't appear to be Yami's mandatory challenger. She is not the highest ranked contender in the WBC's current rank standings. No, Laura ranks in at number 4, behind former champion Mayerline Rivas, behind Sigolene Lafarve, and behind Deborah Dionysius. So where Laura might feel entitled to fight for the WBC title, that doesn't appear to be the case. It appears that she's at least 1 to 2 more fights away from becoming the mandatory challenger in order to force a fight with Inoue Mercado. To climb up those ranks, she might have to fight any one of those 3 fighters and former champions that are ranked ahead of her. The only other alternative would be if her promoter makes Inoue such a lucrative offer, that Inoue defends the belt against her willingly, as a voluntary, like she just did with Ramla. And that took some doing, by the way. It's my understanding that Matchroom made several offers to Inoue before she actually accepted. Laura might have to go a similar route. Laura Grzyb, who sports professional record of 10 wins with no losses, no draws, 3 knockouts. I remember ahead of the Mercado versus Ali fight, Laura Grzyb trashed the fight, saying that Inoue could have picked someone better, someone who wasn't knocked out by Julissa Guzman. She didn't think that Ramla was a worthy adversary. She didn't think Ramla deserved a title shot, though Ramla got the shot because Matchroom paid for it. So if Laura wants a shot, somebody on her behalf is going to have to pay for it. Pay to bring Inoue to Poland. Pay to get her in the ring. Inoue Mercado, who sports professional record of 24 wins with 3 losses, no draws, 5 knockouts, having never been knocked out in 27 professional bouts, and she is a world-traveled fighter. She's a hell of a lot more experienced than Laura Grzyb. But this is who Laura wants. There are 2 other champions at the weight, and I don't see Laura calling them out. I don't see Laura calling out unified champion Ellie Scottney. I didn't see her calling out Erica Cruz when she was WBA champion, and now that the title has changed hands and Nazarena Romero has it, well, I don't see Laura calling out Nazarena. She's focused on Inoue. She must see something in Inoue that she thinks she can exploit. Inoue Mercado, who saw action 2 times this year, once in April against Laura Leica, then again in June against Ramla Ali. There's still enough time left for Inoue that she can squeeze in 1 more fight before this year is out. There's fall, there's winter. Could it be against Laura Grzyb? Well, somebody's got to step up. Somebody's got to pay for it. Need I remind you that any one of these girls that Inoue Mercado fought, whether it's Angelica Rascon, Fatuma Zarika, Ramla Ali, these would all be the best names on Laura's resume, because Laura, as good as she is not well-traveled. World-traveled. Julissa Guzman would be the best name on Laura's resume. These girls that Inoue has already shared the ring with, the likes of a former champion in Mariana Juarez or a reigning champion in Amandia Serrano. These are the kinds of experiences that Laura Grzyb doesn't have. And that's not saying that Laura hasn't fought 1 or 2 decent fighters. That's saying that those eggs need more bacon. That before she challenges for a world title, I think Laura needs more experience. She fought a decent fighter in Martin Besson, Marian Herreria, Maria Secchi. Decent fighter in Stevie Levy. These are decent fighters. Decent, what makes for a decent resume. But I'll tell you now, if she actually did land that fight with Inoue Mercado, I would favor Inoue Mercado to win it. Here and now, the circumstances as they are. Laura Grzyb hasn't even fought this year. She was last in action in October of last year, whereas Yami's already fought 2 times. This one, no ring rust. I think Inoue is a more durable and battle-tested fighter. She's been in there with Amanda Serrano, and she's never been stopped. So she's more battle-tested, tougher. I think she punches harder, more rounds in the bank, more experience. I think here and now she would be more than Laura Grzyb could handle. But this is who Laura Grzyb wants. She wants Jamie. And I don't begrudge her ambition. That's just my overview of the fight. That if she actually got it, well, I think Laura would lose.
Sorry to say.
I don't know, maybe the boxing gods will decide to give Laura what she wants. whether it's good for her or not.
We'll see if she can get Jamie in the ring.
In men's featherweight news, Paul Stevenson says to get ready for the long, terrible reign of Nick Ball,
WBA champion.
Since Nick Ball beat Raymond Fort to win the WBA featherweight title in Saudi in June, there has been an ongoing discussion on the Northern boxing circuit as to whether or not his trainer, Paul Stevenson, is the first Liverpudlian to guide a fighter to a recognized full world title, unless there is an unusual partnership somewhere in the world, and if you know one, please tell us, let us know, because it appears that he is. Stevenson has trained Ball since the very start of his career and quickly sensed that he had the potential to reach the very top. There is no room at Stevenson's Everton Red Triangle Gym for fighters who rest on their laurels and become complacent. And he still has plenty he wants to accomplish personally, but he is still rightly proud of Ball's achievement and believes what he has achieved this year should receive more widespread acclaim.
I think it's because Nick is just one of 4 champions in the featherweight division. He's one among several.
Less than 3 months before beating Ray Ford to become a world champion, Ball was forced to settle for a disputed split draw with Ray Vargas, despite dropping the Mexican veteran twice and dominating him over the second half of their fight. Although the result goes down on paper as a draw, Stevenson knows what happened on the canvas. Winning a world title is an outstanding achievement, but he feels that together, the two performances are a remarkable accomplishment. Every morning when I walk in, I'm smiling to Ant Humphreys, Stevenson's assistant, saying he's champion of the world. He, Ball, is walking around the gym as if nothing, but it is something. It's special, Stevenson told Queensbury. He beat 2 of the best featherweights in the world back-to-back within a 12-week span. People haven't seen that since the days of Henry Armstrong. If you had a middleweight who beat Gennady Golovkin and Saul Canelo Alvarez back-to-back within 12 weeks, then you'd have something to talk about and compare with Nick. He really is special, and what he's done is really special. You show me another British fighter who you could put in with 2 of the best at their weight back-to-back and who'd come out the other side smiling. It's not happening.
What's he gonna do now?
Recent Boxing Scene article talked about how Nick Ball isn't focused on fighting Naoya Inoue. He's down there at 122. Nick's at 126.
He's focused on his own division.
Ball's October 5th defense against Ronnie Rios marks a swift return to action for the new champion after beating former super bantamweight champion Isaac Dogbe, drawing with Vargas and beating Ford. This will be his 4th top-level fight within 11 months, and Stevenson would like for him to keep a busy schedule and take an iron grip on the featherweight division in the coming years. Liverpool, England. Britain's got something special on their hands with Nick, and I would like this to start the long, terrible reign of Nick Ball. Marvin Hagler waited a long time to get the belt. He got a bullshit draw, like Nick. And when he got the belt in his next fight, he terrorized that division and wouldn't let anyone near it. He was like a crazy dog protecting it. That's what we want from Nick. A long title reign and many big nights in Liverpool, Saudi, wherever we end up. They want a long and prosperous future in the featherweight division, but Frank, who promotes Nick Ball, he seems to have other plans.
He's got something else in mind.
Frank is talking about Nick Ball moving up in weight to face IBF champion Anthony Cacace. He's downplaying an Inoue fight and talking up a Cacace fight. Frank Warren has played down talk of Nick Ball facing Inoue, but revealed he could move up to face super featherweight champion Anthony Cacace. Ball will make his first defense of his WBA featherweight title against 2-time world title challenger Ronnie Rios in early October. Ball will fight in his home city of Liverpool for the first time since 2019 when he boxed in the Grand Central Hall in front of a couple of hundred fans, and he will now fight in front of a packed-out crowd at the M&S Bank Arena. Ball's last 2 contests have been for world titles in Saudi.
You know, it never crossed my mind that Frank might want to move this guy up, put him in the ring with Cacace. That could be a big fight in Liverpool. Even bigger!
Anthony Cacace is about to fight Josh Warrington. If Josh Warrington wins and he becomes IBF champion, whether you like Josh Warrington or not, that guy moves tickets. That guy sells. A fight between him and Nick, that could be big. Ball's promoter, Warren, now has big plans for the growing star and was delighted to be able to bring him back to his home city. It's a tremendous occasion, Warren told Boxing Scene. I know he's thrilled with the fact it's a homecoming. He's defending his title in his home city, so there's nothing better than that, in front of all his fans, you know? He's been on a great journey. He showed what he's all about. For me, he's one of the most exciting, if not the most exciting fighter in the world. Now, my job is to make sure that every fight that he has is a fight that's going to move him further up the pecking order of well-known boxers in the world.
Yeah, but this is a little different than what Paul Stevenson was talking about. Paul Stevenson's talking about a long, successful reign at featherweight, where Frank is talking about moving him up to super featherweight.
Frank continued, he's more than capable of that because I can't think of anybody over the last few years who fights like him. The work rate in a fight is just phenomenal. He's just all action and really should be defending 2 belts. He got robbed over there in Riyadh the first time around. Bad decision by one of the judges. And the second time, obviously he came through with flying colors. Ball's homecoming against Rios is seen by many as a routine defense before moving on to bigger fights. One opponent that has been heavily linked with a clash against Ball is undisputed super bantamweight champion Naoya Inoue. Warren, however, played down rumors of a fight between the two.
You know what I think it is? I think Frank looks across that featherweight landscape and what other champions are there, and he tells himself unifying this division is more trouble than it's worth.
He said, to be honest with you, there's lots of options, but I'm not going into it because I'm focusing on what we're doing now with him, and let's see him come through this. He's well, and he's truly on the world stage. Everybody knows who Nick Ball is, and that's the most important thing. One potential fight Warren was happy to talk about was a domestic clash with fellow Queensbury fighter Anthony Cacace. The IBF junior lightweight champion will make his first defense of his title against Josh Warrington on the undercard of Joshua versus Dubois next month, and Warren believes Ball could move up to face Cacace should they both win their scheduled bouts. That could happen, said Warren. I mean, Cacace has a tough fight with Josh Warrington. I fancy him against Josh, but we'll see, obviously. All these guys, there's so many permutations now, good fights that we can make within Queensbury, and yeah, of course, it's one that's on the table. I reiterate, I think that Frank looks across that featherweight landscape, guys like Rafael Espinoza, Angelo Leo, and he tells himself it's more trouble than it's worth, unifying that division. For that, we might as well get Nick Ball to fight one of our own guys, even if it means he has to move up in weight, which is different than what Paul Stevenson was talking about.
I like Nick Ball, but it's not a guarantee he beats Rafael Espinoza. It's not a guarantee that he beats Angelo Leo. Those are dangerous fights.
I think Frank thinks those are dangerous fights too, and he doesn't want to sacrifice his guy to one of those guys. And finally, in men's junior middleweight news, 4-division champion Terence Crawford took to his Instagram stories to say, I really just want to show the world how great I am. I think here and now, Terence is feeling a sense of frustration because so much has changed and yet so much hasn't. He's not with Top Rank anymore. He's not at welterweight anymore.
That changed.
But he is still struggling to get the fight that he wants.
That didn't change.
I guess he still has his heart set on that Canelo Alvarez fight, that Canelo Alvarez showdown. It wasn't that long ago that His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh himself stated that that's the fight that Terence is gunning for. That's the one he wants. It's Canelo Alvarez or bust. But at 37 years old, I believe he's 37 now.
Can he afford to play the waiting game like he did at welterweight, waiting for that Errol Spence Jr. fight to happen? That took 5 years, ladies and gentlemen. 5.
As stated, so much has changed, but so much hasn't. He's at 154 now. He just won the WBA title from Israel Madrimov, though once again, he's in a division populated by many PBC fighters. The other belts, they're on the PBC side of the street. Sebastian Fundora.
He's got 2.
Very soon, Tim Tszyu. He'll have another. That's 3 of the 4 major titles, with Terence Crawford holding 1. Just 1. Same situation as welterweight. It's the exact same situation. Now that Al Haymon is reported to be back from a long hiatus after handling some family issues, a family emergency of some kind, I just get the sense that history's about to repeat itself, and once again, those PBC guys are going to freeze him out because they have their own plans.
Same thing that happened at 147.
Maybe now about to happen at 154. In Al Haymon's absence, we saw a good number of fighters that fought under the PBC banner jump ship. Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz, those PBC heavyweights. Subriel Matias, then reigning IBF champion Elvis Rodriguez.
Michelle Rivera, they left.
Jaleel Hackett and Jahan Ingram, he left.
Many people expected Jaron Ennis, upon achieving free agency, to sign to the PBC, because up until that point, he had been fighting on PBC shows, but no, he went to Matchroom.
In Al Heyman's absence, a good number of fighters that were fighting on PBC shows or under the PBC banner left. Though now that he's back, he's going to hold on to whatever it is he has, and he doesn't have very much. But he does have at least one champion right now at 154 pounds, what could soon be two if Tim Tszyu wins the IBF from Bakram Murtazaliev. And with that, I don't think he plans on sacrificing those fighters to Turki El Sheikh on a Riyadh season show, to Terence Crawford. I don't think he's going to do that. I don't think he's going to give Terence further access to his fighters. Not after what he did to Errol Spence.
Does Terence even want those fights?
That's the other question. Based on what Turki El Sheikh said, it seems like he's still focused on fighting Canelo Alvarez. A pit stop at 154 en route to a fight with Canelo at 168. The problem is Canelo's not playing ball. Canelo's not in bed with his excellency. He's doing his own thing the way he always does. So if the focus of your efforts now at 37 years old as a 4-division champion are to get a fight with Canelo Alvarez, well, what if you can't? What are you going to do?
You know that I would rather see Terence Crawford retire right here and right now than see him get old overnight, losing to someone he would have beat in his younger years. I would rather that he retire right now, undefeated as a 4-division champion,
than see him play the waiting game, get old overnight, and end up losing to some Joe Blow that really isn't on his level.
One of the biggest hindrances that Terence Crawford has had is that he hasn't been that active the last few years. He's been averaging one fight a year for something like 2-3 years now.
Perhaps a little longer than that, and it was thought that because Turkey is invested in Terence's career, that could change things and result in a more active Terence Crawford than we've seen the last few years, because he doesn't have that many good years left. I don't think his performance with Israel was due to his age. I think that was ring rust that we saw, in tandem with moving up to a new weight he needs to acclimate to. I'm not going to say I think Terence is already old.
But how long before he is?
That's the question. So much has changed, and yet so much hasn't.
Time isn't on his side.
I'd rather he retire than watch him get old overnight.